So let's get into this thing. Before we get started, let's make a quick little loop for us to talk over. Okay. So, what is this thing in the first place? It's a little loud, huh? There we go. So on May 5th, JHS decided to release this as a part of their Nota series, which followed the super popular Nota clone, which I actually have right over this fella. This thing sounds amazing, especially with the little mod they have. I think they used to call it the Sherlock mod or something along those lines. But now it's just a plus or a minus. The minus is your normal mode. Anyway, we'll get into this thing another day. But that pedal was super popular and successful, and it revived the original JHS clone circuit that Josh had made years ago. But he put it out of production out of respect for Bill Finnegan, the original creator of the clone, for those who don't know. Because he decided he wanted to release the KTR, which was like the follow-up to his clone. His clone. It was the original circuit. He's just rehoused it and made it a little more accessible. However, now that thing's become ridiculously expensive also. So this is another response to the same kind of situation where you have pedals that are really hard to attain and they've earned a huge reputation for themselves and people want them, so the prices go way up and they're exorbitant. You know, $5,000 for a pedal is crazy. And another thing that's crazy is probably 150 to 200 grand for an amplifier. And Alexander Dumble, he made some amazing things. You know, he's got great circuits out there. His amplifiers sound amazing no matter which one you've heard. But none of them sound the same either. They're all different. So there really isn't a Dumble sound, you know, necessarily. They just all have a very similar characteristic. You can tell they're in the same family. But anyway, so for this thing, Josh wanted to make something a little more accessible to people. And he had already played around with a circuit or two that he got from John Mayer and cloned those for him, which they were actually made by Alexander Dumble. And so that's what we actually see in here. We have the drive section that Josh modeled after what he thinks the clone or the Dumble sound is, and then you have another circuit, which was intended to be the Box It Later, which was created by Alexander Dumble, and John Mayer actually had gotten a hold of one. And so we should have a combination of a clean channel and a drive channel. So after Josh had reverse engineered a couple of pedals for John, the most famous one being the Box It Later. That's what everyone sees on the pedal boards, and what everybody expected to see in here. And that was the intention, but come to find out that Josh had made a little tiny oopsie, and he released a video about 2 weeks later after the release of this thing, selling out the first 5,000 units. And in less than a week, he releases a video, and he reveals that he was going through the schematics of the build, basically came to the conclusion that something didn't look right, and it turns out he put the wrong Alexander Dumble circuit in here. We don't have the Box It Later. We have one that it was called the BBC1. It was more of like a boost, you know, and John Mayer has that pedal. You've probably heard it before, but it's not like one that he carries around on his board. And it certainly wasn't the Box It Later circuit that Josh was supposed to be cloning. Anyway, Josh decided to proceed with the sales, and in the end, we have 7,500 units that are made like this, and this is essentially going to be a version 1, and we'll see what I'm assuming is a version 2 that will have the box it later circuit. I personally don't think Josh did this on purpose. I think it was an honest mistake. So if this was just a big troll from Josh, I think that'd be kind of crazy. In any sense, though, we're going to go ahead and play through this guy a little bit. So let's see what we got. This is kind of my first playthrough. Earlier, I, just tested it to make sure that I had put everything together properly. But let's see what we're working with. Today we have the PRS Swamp Ash Special again. It's just so versatile. I love this guitar. And I may have fallen off the deep end a little bit. I'm going to be switching between this new pick that I got. I decided to buy a blue chip finally. I know these things are expensive and people think it's crazy to spend that much on a pick, but if it's going to last you forever, I think it pays for itself. So here's our clean tone. And we're just going into Archetype Rabia Neural DSP plugin, and this is the clean channel of the Kraken amp. With just a few tweaks that I like to make to it. That little bit of reverb is just coming out of the mood for right now, and we'll try stacking some other pedals as we go. But so this is our humbucker sound, and this will be our single coil sounds. Okay, let's turn it on. Ooh. Yeah, immediately. This thing has a ton of output. My gosh. So it's about as close to unity as I think I can get, and that's right around 3. And then we can boost past that. Makes for the angry Kraken. Alright, we'll bring that back down to a little bit above unity. And let's see what happens when we add the input. Man, that sounds good. Man, that's pretty fun. Let's just go all the way. Why not? Not so clean, huh? That is a ton of fun. Let's just crank them both. Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. So before we stack anything, let's check out that other channel. Switch over with no volume. So this one has a little more room to breathe. Well, a little less room to breathe, I guess. Ooh-wee. Okay, so very much so like an overdrive, not transparent. Even when you bring it all the way down here, it's putting a lot of it. See how it likes single coils. Take that back. That's pretty clean. Let's balance this out some more. It's a relatively standard tone control there. Definitely sweeping into a very bright zone and a very dark zone. Get a little help from bridge pickup. Okay. So I like that on the single coils. Sounds really nice. Alright, I like that. But honestly, I think my favorite part is this. That that super unobtainium crystalline lattice BBC One that nobody can get a hold of now. Let's see how it likes some drive. Or another overdrive. That might be my favorite so far. That's pretty awesome. So as you can see, it takes really well to getting boosted in the front end with an overdrive or just a boost. Actually, let's see what that treble booster does for a second. intents. I love how that treble booster on the Brothers sounds with the preamp Mark II before it. But so far I am really digging this. I kind of want just this circuit and a tiny pedal, 2 knobs, tiny pedal, and then I can space manage a little bit better, So let's hit it with some clean, give it a little bit of movement here. Have it on spread. Very nice. Let's put a little more physics into that. Oh yeah. Well, I think that about sums it up. This little guy is awesome. I'm not saying go online and spend $800 for this thing, but that sounds awesome. And Josh really needs to make a standalone pedal. Doesn't have to be part of the Nota series. You can make whatever kind of money you want off of this, Josh. Build just this. That BBC One circuit is amazing. I'm loving this clean sound here. That edge of breakup. This is the most Dumble-esque sound out of this thing, I think I can say. That other one kind of just sounds a little more like an overdrive to me. It's a good overdrive, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Overdrive's cool, but good God, that is awesome. Oh, well, I guess we can see real quick what happens when you hit it with fuzz. Kind of adds a little bit of girth to it, doesn't it? Actually, no. It's a little bit tighter, I would say. But that sounds really good, too. All right. I think that sums it up today, guys. Also, I could kind of tell the difference. I don't know if there was much difference in the tone, but this thing just feels really good to play with, and it stays in your hand nice. It's a little bigger than I'm used to, because I used to kind of play with the tiny Jazz 3s, and I guess this is the large, but it was what they had in stock, and I kind of am an impatient person. Honestly though, I really dig both of these. The Ultex, I believe this is. Yeah, this is the Jazz Ultex from Dunlop, and it's the XL series. As you can see, it's kind of big too. But I can tell the difference. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's more of a feel thing. It does make a difference playing on an acoustic. Maybe we'll go over that one day. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and don't go spend a ton of money on this thing. But everybody needs to say something to Josh about making that circuit into something special, because I really want this. I just don't want to sacrifice some of the other pedals I like to keep in its place. Anyway, see you guys next time. Thanks for coming.